This is Oldecam.
And this is not a spring chicken. Today we're going to talk about something that, okay, you hear about periodically, but it's in the news again because of...
Oh, well, what happened is the unemployment rate is basically, everybody admits it, all the polls at the moment are against Obama. Everybody that does polling says the unemployment rate is between 10 plus and 11 plus percent, where Obama basically has it down to 8.8% because while nobody is hiring anybody, people are dropping off the unemployment rolls. So therefore it makes it look unemployment is going down. But the Obama administration yesterday took advantage of two airplanes that just had to land right. They could have landed at another airport, but they just had to land where they knew all of the networks had equipment, was at the Ronald Reagan Airport.
Really?
Yeah, they just had to land there. They had to talk to the other people. Okay, you can land at our airport. No, we need to land there. The reason why you don't do landing without clearances is because you don't know what's on the runways. You don't know if the runway is working and all that stuff.
You don't know if there's something on the runway?
Yeah, they don't know if the reason why you can't talk, they're not talking is because they can't talk and you're going into a hostage situation, you're going into a lockdown. That's why you don't do it. So it just happens though that the mainstream press all has, they know how serious it is that we didn't have an extra air traffic controller on duty at that time. So we are going to double up on air traffic controllers now and replace all those traffic controllers that were fired by Ronald Reagan.
Okay, first of all, to my knowledge, there hasn't been a problem with the air traffic controllers in years.
You know, because they know that what happened was when Republicans take control, they know that they'll fire their asses.
Well, I do remember when Ronald Reagan, he fired...
But it's illegal to strike. It's totally illegal to strike. They struck, he fired, and they didn't rehire him. Every time the Democrats come in, they try to replace all of them. And I heard they said that, well, the controllers that are there are all going to have to be replaced within the next 3 years because, you know, our system is growing so big, but we need to speed up that 3 years and double the amount of controllers we have. And Republicans are being condemned as of this moment by the Democrats. They don't believe in your safety. They don't think that you should fly the skies safely.
Well, aren't there fewer flights right now?
Yeah, there's fewer flights, fewer people flying, there are fewer airplanes in the air. So we have to double up on our flight controllers because it all fits into Obama, Reid, and Pelosi's plan. Well, the private businesses, which basically have all this money, they're not borrowing money, well, because they don't know what basically if you borrow money, the government then comes and screws you. They're not hiring people because the Democrats want to raise the basic minimum salary, which means everybody gets a raise. The Democrats' health care system is an ungodly disaster. Well, they were so proud of it yesterday, you couldn't find one member of the Democratic Party on the anniversary of the signing of the Health Care Act that would even come on camera. Not
really?
one. Not one single member of the Democratic Party would come on anybody's thing and talk about how great it was. So they just ran clips about him a year ago saying that it will only grow with popularity when the people find out what's in it, and we have to pass it so you can find out what's in it. Well,
aren't they supposed to have it so you can read it beforehand, including the congressman voting on it?
The congressman didn't vote on it. They're still finding out things because what happens is they left things at the bottom of the page and they could type everything in. You know, and basically, to be filled in is all over that thing.
I know. That's why they tell you when you sign documents, okay, sign underneath where it is, and then
they fill it in.
And don't leave spaces for them to fill it in. Either draw an X and then initial it, right? That's why they tell you that.
That's what they do. The Democrats left spaces, but Reid, Pelosi, and Obama have this plan. We can get the unemployment figures down and put more people to work if we hire another 500,000 union workers to do government work.
And what does that do?
What it does, they said, well, if we do that, it will jumpstart the people to hire because there'll be so much more money being spent. No,
Wait. You figured more money was being spent because you hired all those all those workers?
Well, what happened is they said that the union worker's salary and their benefits amounts to take 3 workers in the private sector. So what happens is, this is a Democrat economist this morning, basically said for every 1 government worker you hire, you don't hire 3 private sector workers or you let them go. So it not only doesn't make the economy grow, it takes money out of the economy because of the fact that the union, while the union workers only, the government workers only may be getting a little bit more in pay than do than the regular workers, the benefit package is 3 or 4 times greater.
But then if you have 3 people that are unemployed,
Yeah,
then they go on the unemployment rolls.
yeah, increases the unemployment rolls.
If they can go on the unemployment rolls, they don't necessarily.
Because they found out that the government workers that Obama has hired so far hasn't done anything to stimulate the economy. Nothing.
Why?
Because they've had to lay off workers to pay for his government workers.
Oh.
So therefore, every time he hires a whole bunch of people to do jobs, I mean, well, then they did say, well, we understand that it may not work exactly as we planned, but we're going to do a $300 billion public works program, and the fact that all of this is done, the benefits will come in. Well, as soon as you could start, because of all the legal problems, would be probably about the year 2020. So you're not even going to start for at least 7 to 10 years because of all the legal problems you got to go through. There are no shovel-ready projects out there because the Sierra Club and all the environmentalists won't let you build anything without environmental impact studies. So you're going to be looking at nothing. With the government workers are going to be hired, but they're not going to be doing anything.
Oh, like we haven't seen that before.
Yeah, we can tell you that we would go to downtown Los Angeles. We actually go to Hollywood to do a lot of work. You have to go down streets that are being shut down, every afternoon. Like at rush hour, they shut the streets down.
I know, that is like the most.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just a pain.
And then
They're just causing problems.
You go at rush hour, and then you come back like at about 2 o'clock in the morning. There's not been an ounce of work done anywhere. Mm-hmm. They just shut the things down.
But they spent all that time blocking off the road.
Yeah, and they spent they're a year behind on their on the Metro rail system. I mean, you could drive for miles and see there's nothing being. I mean, they could put the trains on it. No. They can't do that, so.
Well, part of it is they've announced Metro Rail cutbacks.
Yeah.
Because they said they announced bus cutbacks because they said the Metro Rail was coming on board.
Yeah.
But see, part of it is from my knowledge, more people are riding buses than Metro Rail.
Yeah.
Because gas is so expensive.
Gas is so expensive.
But now they've announced these cuts and the Metro Rail's not ready yet.
Here's a good one. There are basically some places with Metro Rail they've cut the buses out, and you can walk for a mile to get to the Metro Rail, where the buses used to have bus stops in front of people's homes.
Well, that doesn't help because, like, if you have a Metro Rail stop, shouldn't you have like buses going from the Metro Rail stops to get people to it?
No, they shut out the buses in those areas. But here's the thing too, is because they don't have the money. Well, in California, we have to hire more union workers to make the Metro Rail system work. There is no money to hire more union workers to make the Metro Rail system work without raising taxes. And if you raise the taxes, you chase people out of the job market because the jobs fold, and therefore the Metro Rail isn't working. Like I said, we can go all the way down Exposition and see a Metro Rail system that hooks up to downtown Los Angeles. It just stops. It's dead. It doesn't do anything. The rails are rusting because they can't put trains on the track because there's not enough money to be able to put trains on the track because the state's broke. Yeah. Then why is the state broke? Well, because of those union workers. I mean, I can bitch about the unions because I've been a member of a lot of unions.
You just sound like you're anti-union.
No, my father was a union member. My grandfather was a union person.
Well, then you sound like you got burned by the union.
Oh, anybody that's ever been in a union gets burnt by the union. I mean,
you just don't realize that until later, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
One of my unions basically took $14 million out of the pension plan and built themselves a new headquarters. Then the market went bad and they sold the headquarters for like about $300,000 or $400,000.
Ouch.
But the union pension fund was looted. My mother was even though my mother was an executive.
I bet they didn't vote on having their pension fund looted.
You don't vote on it.
They just take it and use it, right?
Yeah, my mother's pension fund, one of her pension funds was looted by the union executives to finance political campaigns, and then they lost
And that wasn't the
campaign.
only one, because that happens all the time.
Yeah, basically, my father was a member of the Teamsters Union, he was a member of the United Auto Workers, because my father was an automotive engineer. My father was a member of the Painters Union. And remember, we're talking, my father was, a member of the United Aerospace Workers Union. My father was a lot of members. When my father died, we couldn't get any union, any one of his unions to pay the cost of the funeral.
Really?
Not a one of them lived up to their union. He had 14 union memberships, and not a single one of them came through.
14 union memberships?
And
not
not
even
a-
a little bit?
They, yeah, he did get an offer of like $300 from the United States military. That was the only offer he got from anybody, was from the military. So that was, since the thing cost like about $15,000, we bit the bullet on the cost of his death. Not one of the unions did it. Then my mother had to settle.
And didn't they have a death benefit
Yeah, we
usually?
had death
Yeah.
benefits. They were to cover. My father spent a lifetime paying into these things to make certain that everything would be covered, that when you died, I mean, she had a policy with one of the unions that when you died, they cover all of your bills and stuff. Nope. Nope. There wasn't any money. They looted because the funds were all broke. I mean, like now, every state in the United States is on the verge of going under because the public sector workers' unions are owed so much money in benefits. And then also, you look at Wisconsin, you'll see no more, when they're threatening not to help people that are being hurt in accidents. They're threatening not to stop fires. They're threatening not to stop robberies unless you sign an agreement that
Yeah,
you
but
will remove the governor from the state office.
Isn't that, I mean,
It's criminal misconduct, yeah.
yeah.
It's a violation of law, which basically, the people upstairs, why you can do it, don't tell people. You're sending letters out to people.
I mean, because the first place that gets burned down because they refuse to go out there,
Yeah.
right? They're getting sued.
That's right, they're gonna
The
put.
first murder or accident that happens,
Oh,
because, I mean,
okay, we got 2 sheriff's deputies shot, 1 killed in Milwaukee, because they were basically going in to show people, they were basically ordered through a door on a family disturbance, which my father was a police officer, my father said you never wanted to get involved in a family disturbance because the person that you're there to protect is just as likely to shoot you. I mean, my father's partner was stabbed in the back by a teenage girl who was being raped by the guy that they were coming in to stop it, and it turned out that she wasn't being raped. She was just making a lot of noise. So when they come bursting through the door because they heard all the noise and thought a rape was going on. She basically picked up a knife, stuck the guy in the back, and then they basically filed criminal charges against the officers that came in.
Because they said breaking and entering.
They were breaking and entering. There was no crime being committed. The only crime that was being committed was the police officers illegally broke into a building. They had a B&E, and so there was, they settled out of court with the police. Basically, the guy was basically out of the police business for a year, recovering from his knife wound.
Ouch.
But, like I said, my father could have been the first one through the door. Instead, he was the one through the door that took his nightstick and knocked the woman cold. So, well, you stab one guy.
You aren't getting away from to stab the second one, right?
Yeah, because, we'll put it this way, my father was a reserve officer for 35 years and he never once drew a gun. Never once drew a gun, because the most officers never do. But basically, his union never came through. We're talking 35 years of paying dues in.
35 years?
35 years of
That's a
dues, and he
long time.
never got any assistance from them, period, for any reason.
Do you think it was just that time, or do you think that it really goes on still?
It still goes on. The unions are busted. Every union in the country is broke. Because,
Well, that's why they're funding so much for all the different states, huh?
yeah, that's right there. That's why the federal government is trying to pick up everything. But the unions, what it is the unions loot the pension funds and everything in order to pay for political power. And the union rules in a lot of states are that you have no choice you can't tell them not to do it because basically the law is on the side of the union. You put these people in charge. I mean, it's why Jimmy Hoffa guy was so powerful. Because, you know, you couldn't tell him as the head of the union what he could or could not do with the union funds.
Oh.
And, but, you know, right now, I mean, I've seen it happen all my life. I mean, you know, when my mother got $40 on she got, what was it, $40 on every $1,000 that she had vested in the union.